Hey, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Micah Foster, and you are listening to From the Garoffice, or you could be watching From the Garoffice with Micah Foster. And this podcast is all about faith in the digital space. It's about how different pastors and ministry leaders have been adapting and changing how they're reaching out to their community, how they're building community, and ultimately how they're teaching people to follow Jesus. So I have a conversation today with a pastor from Cupertino. That's right in the middle of Silicon Valley, right in the middle of where all the things that we are debating about social things happen. Chris Hoch is my guest. He is the pastor of New Life Cupertino. And so we have a great conversation. I hope you enjoy. So, hey, Chris, thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Really appreciate you taking the time to be with me and have a conversation around ministry and around things that people are doing right now in this pandemic to continue to minister. So why don't you tell me kind of your context? Where are you? What's your church like? You know, all those sorts of things. So give me an introduction.
Yeah, so I'm in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley specifically, in Cupertino, California, and I've been a lead pastor at this church for about 5 years, and very small church. Gone through ebbs and flows. It's about a 60-year-old church, but currently was in quite a bit of a lull. They were about ready to potentially close if they couldn't find a pastor, but have a building, have some resources, and just trying to figure out how to engage the community. So, since I've been here, we've done a lot of that, but there's just been a lot of challenges along the way as well. We have a lot of engineers who are on the autism spectrum. And so in-person gatherings can sometimes be awkward, those social situations. We have the propensity to be a little bit awkward at times, but very caring and very loving and super generous. So anyhow, so we've just been trying to figure out ways to engage the community. So we've done large egg hunts. We've done other just sort of outreach into the community, family nights, game nights, all kinds of different things. Try to figure out how we can just engage with the community. And I've also brought in, since I've been at this church, a big focus on reaching unchurched people as sort of a priority, a thrust of our vision. And so far we've done that fairly successfully. I think we have a lot of guests, a lot of visitors engage with us through events and different things. But one of the other obstacles is that people don't stay very long. And so in the Bay Area, they typically stay about 2 years, it seems like, and then they move somewhere they can afford a house or they want to just not pay so much. Because it's just so crazy expensive. So we're trying to figure out how to navigate that and sort of learning from churches in the military community that, they see high turnover like that and trying to figure out ways we can be intentional about it and sort of sending people to the next church or next location they might go to. So, yeah.
Wow. It's almost
a little bit about us.
It's almost like a college ministry in that way. Like, you have a high turnover and maybe even lulls in the year that, there's a lot going on. And right now, especially with so many people distance learning, working from home, all that kind of stuff. And some companies in your area saying, well, maybe we'll stay that way for the majority of our employees. So how is that impacting the people at your church?
Yeah, there's definitely the exodus as it's kind of being referred to here as people just leaving. Partly because, like, for my family, we were in a townhouse and there's a lot of people crammed in different spots of the Bay. And just getting outside, having some space is just not an option for a lot of people. So they are taking up their companies on that and they're moving to other parts and working remotely. So we've definitely seen some of that. We've seen about, I think it's 4 or so families have moved away since all the pandemic started. Some of them might have moved anyhow, it's hard to tell, but sort of push the envelope a little bit further for them. So yeah, we're still figuring that out. We've had a tough time. We have not seen a lot of people move into the area. Typically we have, several families throughout the year come in that have moved into the area. We just haven't been able to connect with them. If they have been watching, it's just, sort of in that background watching without us knowing maybe. So it's just really been hard on that front. So we've had people leave and haven't necessarily had a whole lot of people fill those gaps. We have had some, but not a whole lot. So.
And you guys, so we're in a coaching group together through the North Point partnership. We're with a coach there, and so that's how we kind of were introduced to one another. We're both in California, and we're both in California as a whole has been fairly restrictive over churches during the pandemic of 2020 and 2021 now. And so there's been a lot of churches that have been able to meet outside and sort of do that. There's been churches that have just said, we'll roll the dice, we'll meet inside, we don't care. Or we feel like we're doing a good enough job, there's no real danger here. And then there's churches that are completely online. We're completely online. We were renting a facility completely online. You guys have a facility. So how have you navigated online, outside groups? How have you navigated your gatherings?
Yeah, we've been exclusively online. We did do a couple of events on our campus, primarily just a trick-or-treat Halloween drive-through event. That was the big one, but we've done a few other smaller things for students and along those lines. But we've been exclusively online. Our people are across the spectrum politically, so I haven't actually gotten a lot of pushback. But they're also very willing to say, "Hey, let's love our community by not meeting and not spreading things further and causing more of a problem." So there's not been any pushback to that. And they've actually been very supportive of just meeting online. I think there's still that underlying tension, though, of just wanting to be together and not having to be apart for so long. So we still do have that. But yeah, we have no plans yet of when we can meet. Just like you said, the Bay Area and California in general have been much more restrictive. So I don't even know what that would look like yet. I started thinking this morning about maybe we'll do an outdoor gathering now that the Bay Area, at least specifically, is eased up the restrictions a little bit today. But who knows what the future holds? So who knows what that'll look like? So yeah, we've done online only. We just pre-record, kind of like a lot of churches are doing, and then we do a set time at 10:30 to try to encourage people to gather, just hoping that that'll actually still be a rhythm for them. And we've seen some good engagement on our chat. We do use Church Online platform primarily. We also do YouTube as well, but push people to the Church Online platform, and we've had good chat and good interaction. It's definitely not what it could be in person, but it's been our people have been very satisfied, at least seems like. So
take me through, like, I'm familiar with the Church Online platform. We kind of beta tested it with a few people, and the features were great, and they keep improving it and all this. But I really wanted it to be like someone could accidentally stumble upon it. So we've been doing Facebook. So tell me the advantages or disadvantages from your perspective of driving them to another platform.
So we have quite a few of our engineers who just don't agree with Facebook. So they don't have Facebook. So I knew that if we went that route, we would miss out on some people. And we're obviously making a choice to miss out on the Facebook audience for sure. But yeah, I just felt like it was, at the time, it just seemed like a good option to try, knowing that Facebook wasn't really a good option. And I sort of gone back and forth on this. I think having everybody go to one specific spot has maybe been helpful for encouraging our chat throughout the service, because everybody's sort of there. We fight critical mass quite frequently when we were in person, and online. I don't even know what critical mass is, but right. So having at least a good. I mean, we have about 20-25 people participate in the chat regularly, family units or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how you define those, but and so that seems like a better win in the potential of extra people in our context right now. Just knowing that we would lose out on, I can think of at least 5 engineers that wouldn't go to Facebook Live or Facebook. So that was sort of the thing for us. Maybe I'm missing some things. There's definitely other avenues for that, but we also push it out through like YouTube after the service and premiere it afterwards so that people can see it if it on demand. But we try to keep pushing people to 10:30 still. Hey, try to keep that rhythm if you can. But
so you premiere on YouTube after the fact. So what we do is I have it available. It doesn't even premiere. It just posts on YouTube at 6 a.m. And then we have our service premiere on YouTube at 10:30. So if there's people who, 10:30 feels late for some people, and they're like, they want to get going with their day or whatever. And so they'll watch it early. Or like some of us, we have it on our phones at 10:30, but we're using the YouTube app on the TV at the same time so that we can like chat easily, but also watch it without it being interrupted and stuff. So Yeah, there's a lot of ways, man. Everyone's doing it a little bit differently and a little bit differently on purpose for their particular audience. Take me through what you guys are doing for your online service. Like what are the elements included? How long is it? All those sorts of things.
Yeah, we are going about 40 minutes long for the singing and message and all the components of the service. We do start the chat 15 minutes early. Pretty early on, it seemed like there's people that wanted to engage. And so we do have some people jump in 15 minutes early, and, we try to do discussion question kind of thing, the icebreaker to get people talking. That goes on for the 15 minutes before the service starts. And then once the service starts, we usually do just a welcome segment. And then we jump into singing right away with the song. And we've sort of, the rhythm we've been in for the last 7 or so months has been sort of breaking up the message into segments and having those interspersed with songs or discussion question, sometimes both. So it goes welcome, song 1, message segment 1, song 2, message segment 2, a discussion question, segment 3, and then music and sort of next steps announcements. The discussion questions we've kind of played around with, like doing a minute, trying to get people to engage in the chat, trying to get people to talk to whoever, they're watching the video, if it's a family, whatever. But we still haven't seen we haven't seen a lot of engagement on the discussion questions. We get like 4 or 5 answers every time, but I don't know if that's good or not, but it seems to be helpful for those who engage. And, maybe in the background, those people are at least, pausing and thinking about it. My thinking behind it was basically trying to keep those attention span blocks, that we can only sort of hold attention for, I don't know what the number is exactly, 8 minutes or something like that. And so that's about what our segments are for the message. And it also, to be honest, it's also super helpful for me recording, because for a while I was trying to memorize things, and I just recently got a teleprompter. Don't tell my church, but I'm reading now. But when I was memorizing, it was hard. It just took so many takes because I wanted to get it perfect. I wanted to get it right, and still wasn't right. Still wasn't perfect, but it's better. Yep. So it would just take so long. So then breaking into segments, it made it a lot easier for me to sort of memorize segments at a time. So, but it also, I think I'm hoping it's sort of a little bit more engaging, because it's, changing the environment a little bit rather than just listening to somebody for 30, 40 minutes talk. So that's
breaking it up. I think is really, really helpful if you can capitalize on the natural kind of attention span breaks that people have.
Yeah.
That we've been accustomed to from video watching.
Yeah.
So if you watch, even on a lot of on-demand content now has breaks and like one ad that you can skip it or whatever, but there's a certain amount of time and then there's a break, and you sort of anticipate that. I don't know. Do you have Disney Plus?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So have you watched WandaVision at all?
I haven't. I keep seeing ads for it. I haven't seen it yet.
All right. So what's really interesting is it's shot like it would be a TV show that was on normal network television, in that there are breaks. So it might fade to black and then it'll fade back in. And I'm like, oh, that's where you'd insert commercials. And so we're used to and accustomed to seeing this stuff and naturally expect, oh yeah, there's a break coming up. Go get yourself a drink, go get yourself whatever. And so it's really interesting. You're taking advantage of that. So this past Sunday, our message was, no, not our message. Our whole service was 28 minutes. And I've gone from like 45 and really tried to back it down to the 30 mark as much as possible. And this week I got 2 minutes shy, and I thought, well, I could throw in another song. And then I was like, nobody ever complains when it's short. So let's just go 2 minutes short. So it's really, really interesting thinking about the attention span and stuff like that. My message was only like 12 minutes long. And I've gone through the phases too. Like I'm like, teleprompter. I got a prompter app. I was manuscripting and reading the whole thing. And I was doing that, and I was, I've just gone through several different things, but then I also wanted to be able to go somewhere and have it and like be out in nature or something and do it easily without having to have a teleprompter and worry about screen brightness or whatever. So what I've been doing is I'll have an outline and it may be printed or it's on a screen. And if I like don't feel like that was a smooth transition, I'll just give it a pause and then I'll go back to it. And because it's only like 15 minutes long usually, I just cut it real choppy when I edit it. It's just kind of like there's just hard cuts. And I think at first people are like, what's going on? But then they're like, oh, he's just making it shorter. So we don't have to sit through any awkward silence or, weird thing, like, and so I can mess up as much as I want. And I just cut it together and it's just jump cuts. So that's kind of what I've been doing. But we also do, every once in a while, we'll get our band together and we'll film like 10 songs together. And then we'll use that for a season. So our band is not continually having to do things, and we can use the same songs, pair up 2 different songs from the previous week or grab one from, and just, we're only showing 2 to 3 songs a week. And it may even be, it's at different points in the service, maybe before the message, maybe after the message, maybe one each. It just depends on the flow of things. And that's been something that's really been good for our team, especially since one of them was pregnant and had a baby during this time. And so it was like, and nobody knew she was pregnant, like when all this happened. But she got pregnant like almost right at the beginning of the shutdowns. And so suddenly she's on screen and she's pregnant, like dramatic difference. And so people are like, wait a second, she's pregnant, and then it was like, she had a baby in December. And I'm like, I can't show your pregnant videos anymore because people know you had a baby now. So it feels weird. So we need to do another session. So anyway, you run into that stuff too.
That's interesting. Yeah.
In our coaching call, you mentioned something about how you have been trying to help families with kids, how you're trying to do family ministry things. And I think that's something that everybody who has had to make a shift to online for this time, everyone has struggled with that in some way. And I've heard some people doing some interesting things, and you had a couple of things that you guys had innovated on. So I'd love to hear what you guys have done.
Yeah, basically we took the idea from another church that just to sort of do boxes on a regular basis. We've only done one so far. We did it for Christmas and sort of put quite a bit of energy into it, of getting some resources together. We did a bunch of kind of local things, like there was a Christmas light map that we included in there.
Nice.
Things like that, local resources. That was fun. And then we put together, we used one of the Advent calendars from the Orange curriculum. We got access to and put that in there, and then basically bought a lot of the supplies for doing that Advent calendar, so families didn't have to worry about that piece of it. Just simple stuff like cookie mix and cookie cutters and icing and that kind of stuff. Put that in the box. And then we also did several Bible reading kind of things. So for the preschool and elementary age kids, we included the Jesus Storybook Bible for those that didn't have it, which we'd given it out previously, but it had been so many years ago that everybody had moved away that got it. So everybody needed it. So we gave that out, which was really cool. And so we put put a little bookmark in there with the specific stories for Christmas, the page numbers and everything.
Cool.
And man, we've seen a huge response to that specific piece that I wasn't necessarily expecting. It was sort of like, oh, we got these Bibles, like let's include them. But people they responded really well. And in fact, quite a few unchurched people that are connected to my family specifically have reached out and texted me saying, hey, my kid read that. I don't know about a lot of kids. I wasn't much of a reader as a kid, but my son is just cruising through books. We can't keep books in the house fast enough because he's not getting them from school or, whatever online stuff right now. But so I think families are just like, hey, it's a new thing to read. So they jumped on it. So we included that. We also included for students and adults a couple of QR codes, which I learned a couple of things about how to do that better, but basically some QR codes to scan to get some Bible app plans, Advent reading plans. And I think those have gone over pretty well. And yeah, just in general, I think the whole thing of delivering the boxes, we had a few families help deliver the boxes, and just that interaction that the families could have with each other. And it was just, it seemed to be a really good thing. We're trying to duplicate it for Valentine's Day. That's our next target.
Oh, cool.
And trying to do something simple for Valentine's Day. And So that was the one. The other thing I think I mentioned was the trick or treat drive-through, which was super fun. And again, we took the idea from another church. Quite a few churches in our area did something similar, and so we had our own little take on it. We basically had a couple stilt walkers in the parking lot, walking around juggling and doing their different things. And then we handed out a bag of candy, obviously, and some goodie bag stuff. And then throughout the drive-through, we built some monsters, just fun, kind of Monsters Inc. kind of monsters.
Okay.
Just googly, big eyes and all that, out of boxes and just different construction paper and wrapping and stuff. And had a huge mouth. And then we gave them all a bag of water balloons. And then they just chucked the water balloons into the mouth of the monster. And kids seemed to have a lot of fun. And I couldn't tell you how many kids had said they'd never thrown a water balloon before. I was like, wow. Okay, well, that's a good first memory, I guess. You're out on church throwing your first water balloon. But it was just another fun sort of, we really tried to keep it as safe as we could. And I think we did a good job of that. Nobody from our church or anybody that we knew got COVID from it or, spread it or anything. So it seemed to be a good one. That was kind of before the Thanksgiving, Christmas wave of COVID, but anyhow, yeah.
We tried to do around July 4th, we put together little bags for families, right? Bubbles, little glow sticks, things, just things for them to do at home because all the shows were canceled around here. There was no, you couldn't really do a whole lot. So, so then our children's ministry director was going around and delivering them. And she had gotten through most of the deliveries. And she had dropped off, I think 3 or 4 with us because we were going to go deliver those ones. And then like the next day, she got word that they were exposed to COVID. And so I was like, oh no, we just delivered all these things.
Oh no.
And the person delivering them was exposed. Even if she doesn't get it, she could have been a carrier. I don't know. Is it on this stuff? I don't know. So we left the bags that she had delivered to us, quarantined in the garage for 2 weeks. Cause I'm like, I don't know how it all works. Yeah. Everything's, a lot of people saying different things, but I don't want to take the chance and deliver these to someone. So then just this weekend, I cleaned them out because I was cleaning the garage and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about these. And so that was kind of a flop for us. Was like, we were going to do this thing. And some people got them and still used them and had fun with them, but it just didn't work like I wanted it to work. Helping people out. But that's really interesting. You guys had kids there who'd never thrown a water balloon, and suddenly they're here at this event under extreme circumstances, really, who probably wouldn't be at this event if the circumstances weren't what they were, because they would have had so many more options of what to do. And they're throwing their first water balloon. I wonder if there's something culturally that you can capitalize on about how many people don't have much space, much yard, is there something you can capitalize on as a church in providing sort of those experiences, things you would normally do in your backyard growing up or in the street growing up or whatever, in the cul-de-sac, and maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something there.
Yeah, we've thought about trying to do, we've done indoor game nights before, family game nights, but trying to do something outdoors. We have a decent sized front lawn to do stuff, but you just get sort of in that, how risky are we going to be? And especially with recent lockdowns, we just haven't been able to. But yeah, we're definitely thinking about that kind of an idea. We've also thought about going to parks, just going to the parks and organizing something. But again, sort of not knowing how that all works. We haven't done anything just yet. So
I feel you mentioned something about, when you were talking about the Bible, you guys gave Bibles to kids. You mentioned something in our coaching call about someone reading the Bible to his friend or sharing it with his friend or something. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So one of the families that we gave the Christmas boxes to was my wife's cousin and her family. And they've come to Easter egg hunts. And, so I think that's it, just an Easter egg hunt or two. Previously, they're not engaged with church at all. But we have a relationship with them because they're family. Sure. My son has been playing Switch online with their son. So
what games are they playing?
Let's see. They are playing Mario Kart, and I don't know if there's something else. I can't remember. Maybe Mario Odyssey. I don't know. Is that even online? I'm trying to keep up.
My sons play, but I don't know them all. I don't know them all. Anyway, keep going.
So they have that relationship. They've sort of been building actually since COVID. They weren't super close before.
Right.
They live in a different part of town. But anyhow, we sent them a box and dropped one off for them. And then my wife's cousin reaches out to me on Facebook and says, "Hey, I want to get my son connected to your church, your kids ministry."
Wow.
I'm like, "Oh, okay. We're online right now, so that's what that's going to look like." But and then my son was talking to him one day when they were playing Switch, and the little boy had a bunch of questions, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to talk about this more." And so my son gets his little, Jesus Storybook Bible, our version, and the cousin has his, and they're sitting over at, I think, an iPad FaceTime call, and they're just talking about going through the Bible, and my son just sort of was sort of explaining it to him. My son, like I said, he's an avid reader, so he's read through it a few times, and we read it as family, our devotional time, whatever. But so he had a pretty good understanding of it. I was just super proud. My son was willing to do that, and sort of not, nothing I did. I wasn't really involved in it. So yeah.
That is awesome. I mean, how many, I just know of the people who watch, listen to this, they're going to be like, man, I would love for that to happen at my church. And would that have happened if we weren't in this situation we're in? Who knows? But it's pretty awesome that he has that opportunity and that heart to be able to do that. We had talked just a little bit. We had kind of dreamed or brainstormed a little bit for a lot of churches who are doing the online church thing for now. Who knows how long, and who knows what it's going to look like when the state really lightens up, all the restrictions. But many churches are struggling to just produce the online content, whether that be editing or whether that be an intro or a message or music. And so I was talking about, I brought this up in our coaching call. What if we were sharing those resources? What if there was like team teaching, or someone has some really solid worship sessions and can share that with some of the other churches around who don't have as many resources, or just have different talents. Like there's different talents of the people in all the churches. And so what if there's one that's struggling, or their band got sick or whatever, and there's a way to sort of help those things that we've created have more shelf life, first of all, and get outside to different, for lack of a better term, distribution networks to help other people. So anyway, I was just throwing stuff out in our call, and there was a couple of guys that were like, well, yeah, that could work. So tell me your thoughts on that. What do you think that could look like? Just dreaming for a minute.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think I've even referenced right during our time so far today that we've taken ideas from other churches. And so I think that's actually been one of the things I've been most encouraged about from COVID is I think the sharing of resources from churches has just been huge. There's a couple local churches in the Bay Area that shared a lot of sort of the early COVID stuff of how they were processing things and adapting. And that was super helpful. And yeah, I would love to be a part of that, whatever way we could. I don't know what that could look like. I guess it would kind of be interesting to maybe think about the ways that it could work really well. I think you probably want to have quite a bit of synergy as far as, mission and vision. And I think that plays into the style and the way that the service is probably set up. I think you and I keeping our service at 40 minutes, and then for you, 28, kudos, by the way. That's a pretty good accomplishment.
That was the shortest one. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think finding churches they're willing to do that, because I still know of a lot of churches that don't want to shorten or just don't think about it as a value of shortening it, given online stuff. They want to just recreate what's in person. So I think finding the churches that are willing to do that would be, a helpful thing, and probably a key to the success of it. So you could really share equally amongst churches. I'm trying to think of what else that could look like. I think the music idea, actually, I stole your idea. You said in our coaching call about the, sort of clumping 10 sessions together and recording them. I shared that with our worship team to do that. That's a great idea. We never thought of that. We were sort of doing everything individually. We tried to get a couple weeks ahead to save some of that, but yeah, grouping things together would be great. So yeah, that would be, I think, a great thing, great resource if we could share some of that. The challenge for me, at least, is I just want to make sure that we're contributing. I wouldn't want to just be taking. I don't want to do that if at all possible. But I don't know. Yeah, quality wise and kind of measuring some of those things of if we would sort of measure up to what the standard would be. I don't know. Maybe figuring out what the standard would be acceptable would be helpful. What kind of quality are we looking for? We're just recording with the iPhones right now, so I don't know. That's pretty good, but it's not as good as broadcast cameras and all that kind of stuff. So,
well,
I don't know. Yeah,
we've done a variety of things. At the beginning, we were recording with whatever we had. So we had a Sony Handycam, basically, that we were previously using to record the message during live Sundays. We had that, and then I had one Canon M50 DSL. Oh, it's a mirrorless camera, and then we had an iPhone, and then we had a GoPro. And so I was trying to get different angles with all these, but they all had different looks, and so it was kind of funky because you'd go from like this GoPro look to this phone look to this. So it was a little funky. Now I used 3 of these Canon M50s and they all have different lenses, but they have the same color profile and all this kind of stuff that makes it look similar, very similar. And then we just, cut them up so we get different angles, different parts of the song. And it's not perfect, it's not perfect. Sometimes one of the worship leaders will mess up on a word, that we didn't catch during the recording, but it is what it is. We're not trying to be perfect about it. But the strategy we've taken is that we're not, first of all, we don't have a facility, so we don't have a stage to be on. Now, we could go ask a church, hey, can we come in and record our stuff? And they would say yes. There'd be a bunch of churches that would say yes. But we on purpose have decided to make it feel more camera first and like off stage. So we didn't want to make a stage feeling. So because of that, it's a different feel than if it were a live, more produced thing. Even though there's quite a bit of production that goes into it with editing and everything, it feels a little more personal, I think. And so it's very conversational in what we're doing right now, which I really enjoy. And I think if one of the things that many people have been saying is that beyond the COVID situation, if you're going to have an online service of some kind for your church, that it can't simply be a replication of what is on Sunday. And it's got to be uniquely different than that. And it's got to be geared towards the screen first, instead of just sort of, like you said, lots of churches are just replicating what's happening on Sunday. And that's what most churches have been doing pre-pandemic with their online stuff, with the exception of some great innovators. But most of them are just kind of showing what's happening in the room instead of trying to engage with the people who might watch online, if that makes sense. So you guys mentioned your chat is full, like you guys are using that chat. You're trying to encourage people to be there at the same time to be a part of it. You have 15 minutes before the service of chatting. Do you have a countdown during that time, or is it okay? Yep. So you have a
background music with just a few slides, just kind of about us a little bit, mission and that kind of things. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So we have like a 30-second countdown. I really should slap something longer to give people time to do that sort of thing. But we're chatting the whole service, and I'm trying to drive that as well. Mm-hmm. How are you? So let's pretend that you're able to meet back together. You can be in the building. It's not a huge risk, with a few modifications, you can do it. What happens to people who are not comfortable or people who won't come back to the facility at that time?
Yeah, I have put that thought off for a long time. I don't want to, because it feels like it's going to be double the work, to be honest with you, in a lot of ways. I mean, the message might still be the same, but we're going to have to probably record at least the message beforehand, and I wouldn't do that separately. but maybe the music as well. I don't know how that would look. I would probably try to keep it a really short, compact. Yeah, we've gotten down to 38 minutes. I think that's my best so far, but somewhere in 38 minute range. And then in-person service, I don't know. I would say the hybrid approach is sort of what we would try to do. We would try to do both in-person and online. That's our strategy at this point. But I don't know what that's going to completely look like because right now I don't know that I feel like I have a good handle on the bandwidth that would require to do both. I was just telling somebody today, it's like the weekends move to Wednesday through Friday for us because I'm typically recording and we're starting to make sure graphics and all that stuff are ready to go, so that by Friday we're pretty much done, ready to push stuff. But then also we still have a service on Sunday, so it's like there's still, I don't know. I haven't figured out a good rhythm for that, so I'd definitely like to learn from people that have a better handle on that. Probably getting a week ahead would probably be a good thing, at least on the online side of things. That would seem helpful. But
I've done that.
We've gotten that
from time to time,
but not for very long.
Yeah. There's been like spurts where there was one series I was doing. I can't even remember what it was or when it was, but I basically had 4 outlines. And so I recorded all of them in one day. But I knew, and it was during the summer, and I knew that I was going to be gone for like a week or something. And so I was just like, well, even if I don't get all these edited and ready to go, at least I have them recorded before I'm out of town. And then it won't be as hard to get it all, because I am our production video. I'm everybody, except for the musicians. Wow. I'm everybody else. So, and I'm not our children's ministry director, but right now we're just pointing them to online resources that Rethink makes, which I enjoy. Our kids, we watch together those things, and it's actually been really good. But but anyway, everything else is me. So I have a lot to kind of figure out how I got to record during this time. And my kids are like online and at school physically, like part-time. So my wife and I both work from home. There's a lot of interruptions. So if I'm going to record something, I have to like give everybody a big warning. Hey, I'm recording something, and they don't listen. They come in anyways. But I just cut that part out. Every once in a while, I'll just leave it in. I'll just be like, you're in the thing.
Real life, yeah.
And people think that's funny. It's kind of like one of those breaks, one of those natural attention breaks.
Yep.
Snaps them back if they started to tune out or do something else. Like, hey, what's going on? Wait, there's a kid in there. Yeah, there's a lot of different people doing different things, man. And I think what you're saying is in terms of sharing resources, like if there's a certain excellence level or a certain quality level, we're shooting in 1080. We're not even shooting in 4K or 2.7. We're shooting in 1080 because that's what YouTube generally shows it at. Anyways, 24 frames. We try to get things pretty matched up. The one thing that's really nice is I have a group of about 9 or 10 different people that rotate through as our online host. And so there's a general format script, and I send it to them, and I send it to an intern that he'll video that part. So he goes and meets them and videos that, and then sends that to me. So there's a welcome, and then there's an outro at the end of the service by this person. And then they also film a vertical, like social media spot that we send out after the service on Instagram and Facebook. So it's like, hey, I was your online host today. If you missed it, you can go here and check it out. Don't forget to follow us. And then usually there's some other piece of information that's helpful for people. And that has been great because it really enables them to serve in some way, because that's a hard thing to find for people right now. Most people is, how do I serve? Like I used to set up stuff, or I used to lead a children's. It's a little weird. It's different right now. So gives them a chance to serve, and it also gets somebody else on the screen, because I hate like being the only face. I feel like that's so weird. It's hard enough to watch yourself preach and like my wife is sitting there and I feel like she's making fun of me the whole time because I say something. She's like, you shouldn't have said that or whatever. It's like there's always, or I say something it sounds funny. And she's like, that didn't sound like how you thought it was supposed to sound. And that's just the kind of relationship we have. And there's a couple people in the church who will text me and be like, that was hilarious. But I wasn't trying to be hilarious. So that's just how it is, man. And so I'm sitting there watching that and catching that live. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. But man, what a process to watch yourself every week. How much evaluated preaching have you done in your life before, where you actually saw what it was like and saw the mannerisms? And so now this is like baptism by fire, man. We're going through it. Hopefully, we'll come out better than ever. But man,
as I was uploading our podcast this week, I was actually thinking the same thing. I was just thinking there's so much. Yeah, I've never watched myself this much. I always would listen to myself because, doing the audio podcast, I would, have to cut it together a little bit, but man, yeah, I hope there's a quantifiable improvement in our preaching.
Right.
That would be nice, but
hopefully,
I don't know what that metric is.
Hopefully. Well, people will, it'll be interesting because in your context, when you're live again, when you're in person, I should say again, you'll have to break up the message into 3 spots to keep people out messing with you.
I've thought about that. I thought about that because I actually don't know that it would be bad. The challenge would be just in person. The transitions are not nearly as quick, right? You're having to get a person back up on stage with a guitar. I don't know. But I've thought about it. I've thought about if it would be a better way to preach moving forward. I'm open to it. I wanted to try to be a little bit open-minded on how church needs to look. So if it needs to change like that, I'm on board, I guess.
You're with it. You're going to go with it.
I'm also hoping when we go back to live in person that people will let me take a few takes along the way, because I'm going to stop and let me restate that.
That didn't sound quite right. Let me try that again. Yeah. That's awesome. Well,
it's anything else? I think. Anyhow, sorry.
Oh yeah. It's going to be awkward. I think even in speaking, I'm going to feel a different pressure than I felt before, because I couldn't cut out all my dumb things I say, or if I say it weird or whatever, I couldn't just cut it out. Anyway, I was just going to say, any other thing that you're seeing or think people would benefit from, trends you're seeing or things you're learning along the way?
I guess maybe not necessarily. I guess I hope to see the church continue to collaborate. I feel like the way that the church has tried to collaborate, or I've seen some glimmers of hope for that. And try to continue to help each other, resource each other as best we can. So I don't know that I have anything else off the top of my head though.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, Chris, we'll stay in contact. I mean, as we kind of think through things and dream a little bit about what could be and should be. Oh, one of my kids turned on the shop lights in the garage. But man, thanks for spending some time with me, hanging out. I appreciate that. I know that I actually missed our first meeting a few days ago because I double booked myself. Sorry again for that. Not a good.
And I was late this time. So it's all good.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you. Appreciate what you're doing for the kingdom. And thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Good to talk to you.
Well, as always, I hope that was as fun for you as it was for me. I'm so glad I get to connect with so many different leaders and pastors and learn from them, and we can collaborate. I think that we have some sort of an idea of how to collaborate in this digital age to relieve the stress of creating all of it individually for each of our churches. Maybe we ought to share some of those resources that we're building, especially if we are like-minded in how we do ministry. Well, if you haven't heard from me directly already, I'm not selling a course. I'm not making any money off of this. So if you want to support this channel, I would appreciate it. I would love for you to subscribe. I'd love for you to give it a like, give it a share, pass it on to somebody you think would benefit from it, because ultimately we want to help you lead better in the digital space. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And maybe check out some of the other videos. You just never know how it might change your life or ministry. God bless. I'll see you in the next one.